Hello, my name is Jennifer Engel. I am the author of Heaven Under Construction, which is basically a book of poetry, one poem for every day that I went through cancer in 2014. I've been doing little videos for the month of October and in September because my cancer has reoccurred for a third time. And what I really want to do is I want to see, where was I back in 2014? Where am I now? How did I choose to deal with it in 2014? That was what the book Heaven Under Construction was about. And these little videos, as well as highest possibility states, is how I'm dealing with cancer recurring a third time. Now, one of the things that I want to do is I want to take something as scary as cancer or anything else, and I'm writing my third book called Communication Codes, and I want to try to not make it so scary, not make it so complex, and try to make it just a little bit more simple. How do we do that? Well, we do that with tips, tricks, and strategies, which I wrote in highest possibility states, but also with little mnemonic devices that kind of help us and give us some reminders when we're in a lower state. Now, the poem that I'm going to be reading today is called Stop, and what was kind of interesting is I didn't really realize how well it flowed from the end of Heaven Under Construction, which was written in 2014 and published in 2017, to the first chapter of Highest Possibility States, which wasn't written until 2020 and didn't get published until this summer. So the poem that I'm going to read today is called Stop. It is day 359 of my cancer journey, the very first time. It's on page 365, which is a really interesting page number to stop on. Hence, 365 days in a year. The very word construction means to build. And before anything is built, one must stop. Stand still, take inventory, observe surroundings, plan a route. I must stand still, think about my life. What is it that I wish to build? Physically, mentally, emotionally. I must take inventory. What's been working so far for me? What hasn't? And how can I change what is not working? I must observe my surroundings, really look closely at my internal and external worlds. Perhaps I should start a journal. I must plan based on what I observed while still standing still and taking inventory. Another thing that I've really started to come to understand when it comes to any kind of medical issues, cancer recovery, dealing with cancer, the first time, the third recurrence, for those of you who don't know, I grew up with spina bifida as well, is you really need to address it on all sides. When I sit back and when I think and I reflect upon it, at the end of Heaven Under Construction, you're going to see that I didn't regret going through chemotherapy, radiation, the double mastectomy, but now that I've had cancer occur a third time, I did tell the doctor I'm not 100% sure that I can go through chemotherapy again. And I was so adamant about not taking hormone reduction therapy. Now, part of that, I think, is because my body was still trying to recover from the chemotherapy and the radiation, and I might have been getting confused as to what were some of the symptoms or side effects of the hormone reduction and what was just my body trying to recover from the chemotherapy and the radiation. So I do think that part of my cancer recurrence is because I didn't necessarily address the physical issues as much as I could. Basically what I did is I did a Band-Aid. I poisoned the cancer out, I cut the cancer out, I burned the cancer out, but I didn't really do my part and follow through. Now I am finally taking hormone reduction therapy. Luckily, I haven't really had very many side effects. But in addition to that, I did a lot of research into diet And I radically changed my diet as well. Mostly a plant-based diet, very low processed foods, very low sugar, very little meat actually. Now, one of the things I felt I did do right is I addressed all the mental, emotional turmoil that was going on here and in here that I felt also contributed to the dis-ease that was showing up in my body. And I took all of those tips, strategies, and tricks, and I wrote them. Might help if I put it the right side up. And I put them into highest possibility states, which I published this summer. Because you can't just address a dis-ease physically. You can't just take the pill, take the chemo, and be done. Again, I think my cancer recurred a couple reasons. Number one, because I didn't fully address it physically. Yes, like I just said, I poisoned it out, I cut it out, I burnt it out, but I didn't change anything else about me. And to me, you have to be able to make dramatic life changes in your diet, in the way that you perceive the world, mentally and emotionally. You know, there was a study that showed that when you think positively and you say it to water or rice or anything else, the rice, the water, everything stays like a beautiful pattern. But when you actually think negatively, when you give something a negative charge, the rice turns moldy, the water turns jagged. We're made up of a lot of water, a lot of memory. And so not only do you have to deal with it and stop and make a plan, but you need to stop and you need to think about what else could have caused this dis-ease. One of the things that I talk about is how meditation, mindfulness, and visualization really help me out. And that's true. But another thing that I talk about is really be careful when you first go into meditation. And in the book I talk about there's many different ways to do meditation. But I also found that when you go inside yourself, the first things that kind of start happening is fear pops up, guilt pops up, insecurity pops up. And so I've told people that it's taken me almost 8 years to get to the place where I am today. And I think one of the reasons why I'm able to tackle, change my mindset on how I actually deal with cancer the third time is rather than seeing myself as being cured, as seeing myself as more managing the cancer. Don't get me wrong, I definitely went through a dark, why me period. And sometimes I will still wave back and forth between high and lower states. But I think I'm able to handle this a lot more positively, even though it is the third time around, because I put in the time and energy to deal with it mentally, emotionally, and then this time I'm actually taking it a lot more physically serious. So go ahead, take some time, stand still, take inventory, observe surroundings, and plan a route. Because now more than ever, this world really needs people who can self-assess, improve themselves, and then help improve the lives of people around them. Hope this little video has helped someone today so that you can use your own routes and highest possibility states to first help yourself and then help those around you. Peace and blessings.